week 5 on being a prudent person. And you're thinking, what does being a prudent person have to do with being, your thoughts? What does being prudent mean anyway? Prudent doesn't sound like prunes. I don't even like prunes. But anyway, a prudent person is one who will think things through and just make decisions wisely. They're not very wishy washy. They make the decisions based on a good thought process. They value wisdom and they seek out that wisdom before making a choice. I have an example here. If you've ever been hiking or caving, going on a cave, spelunking, I think it's called. If you've ever done that, you probably have had a guide or an adult that's been in front of you or close by that can say, "Here, I know the way, come with me." And if you get in a tight situation, you can watch where they put their foot. Actually, like, where am I going to step next? Oh, right, there's where you stepped. That was a safe spot to step, and that's where I'm going to step too. So, being a prudent person means you find someone who's been there before, who has made wise decisions in their life,
And you
and you
follow.
follow their choices because they are successful. So being prudent means being wise. You can take that application in the hiking or caving example spiritually. So you choose someone a little further along than you are, and you watch their life, and you watch and you learn from them. Whether they know it or not, you're seeing where they're stepping, so to speak, to see how things turn out for them. And you are either making choices that line up with what they did or opposite. Sometimes we need to make choices in opposite of what we see people doing sometimes. That's being prudent, deciding, well, they did this and this happened. And so I think it's a direct result. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go this direction and I'm going to step here instead. My parents want me to step here. I think I'm going to step here instead. So that's being prudent, making wise decisions based on several things. So we're going to talk about a few things. You can make decisions based on consequences. So I'm sure your parents have given you consequences before. You probably have heard, don't do this or I will, and fill in the blank. And so you think, I'm going to go ahead and do that anyway. Or a prudent child would be like, oh, I'm not going to do that because first, will disappoint my parents. Second, I don't want those consequences. So you're going to make a wise decision and be prudent. So the prudent child thinks things through. And not only do you have consequences for yourself, but what other consequences? Disappointment in from your parents, disappointment, embarrassment. You know, you do things sometimes in secret, and then you think, oh, nobody will know. And then something happens and it comes out, and it's kind of embarrassing. So we can avoid that prudently thinking ahead what can happen and what are those negative consequences. Um, Also, you may have heard, I like to use science parallels. You may have heard that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the prudent person would think ahead to those actions and those reactions in the future. The Bible also says, what you sow, you're going to reap. So those are things to think about, well thought out decision making processes. Um, how are you supposed to decide what step to take? You can look, to your parents, choose people to follow. But there are some things that you need to do because the prudent person, looks for their own steps. You're responsible for yourself. So what do you need to do? The first thing, and always, the right answer is always to read your Bible. So you're going to read your Bible, just maybe chapter by chapter, and you're just going to get this wisdom for general prudence, general wisdom. You read the Bible for general information and the general stories and things that are in the Bible. You're not searching for a specific answer. In this lesson, you're not specifically looking up a verse that you can apply to a situation. You are just generally reading it, just for general wisdom, to gain the knowledge and the wisdom for later use. Another thing would be writing that specific verse that you find. You think, wow, that really speaks to me. I'm going to write that verse down, and maybe a little application of it. So you're going to read the Bible a chapter a day. You're going to pick out a verse that is like, wow, that's a really wisdom evoking verse. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write some thoughts about it. So, journaling, write down what it means to you and how to apply it to your life. Then, another step, this will be like step 3, ask for wise advice. Um, you want steps to success. So that would mean asking someone who's been there and done that, someone who has gone a certain path and been successful. What did you do here? Did you do this? How did that turn out? Did you struggle with that? And asking those questions that you may need to ask of someone. And at this point, I was going to say, don't leave out grandparents. They're so wise in just life experience. They've had so many life experiences that it would be a shame just to shut them out because they're old. They still have those life experiences, and they would be probably very honored if you'd say, I'm really struggling with this decision. What do you think? Or did you ever have this opportunity in your life? What do you think about it? You'd maybe be surprised at the wisdom that they can give you if you'll just ask. Make sure it's godly advice also. Um, and so this is just a good overview for prudence, how to think things through and how to make wise decisions. I gave the example of camp in the writing assignment. So, like, I was the kid who would not choose the class at camp or the little breakout session at camp unless I had a friend there. But that wasn't the prudent thing to do. The prudent thing would have been to decide which class would have been best and follow up and go to that class and try to make a new friend. So you have general prudence, where you read the chapter a day and you just gain that knowledge. And then you have specific prudence, where you have a situation that you want to figure out and you need advice and wisdom. So you get specific wisdom and prudence for that because you are ultimately responsible for your own steps. So that is my take on prudence. And Proverbs 14:15, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well unto his going. And that's the King James. And the ESV says, the simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. So I hope you take that to heart. Proverbs 14:15. Thank you. Bye-bye.